I started from Custer this morning and I finally left my friend's house for the last time. I think I've stayed there 4 or 5 nights. She has a home in Bellingham, so I've just been going back there to sleep. And it has been just lovely to get to catch up and hang out with her and her daughter who's about my age. And we had such a fun time, and their extended circle a little bit. And I'm really sad to be leaving. She trail angeled me a lot these last few days, driving me to and from my points on trail in the morning and the night. And let's not forget giving me so much food. Just made it through. I'm crossing I-5 again, heading to the northeast side of the highway. I have my hood over my hat so the winds from the road don't steal my hat away. Oh, what did that used to be the entrance to? Got goats, cows, goats with horns. Is that buffalo or is that long-haired cow? And a donkey? Okay, today is the day that I get to Canada. From Mexico all the way to Canada today. I am walking right at it and I still don't believe it, and I'm sure it'll sink in later. It's not sinking in right now. It's not sinking in. But anyways, today is November 7th and I started on April 26th and I'm on day 196, almost 200 days, more than 6 months that I've been out here. And I started on the Pacific Crest Trail at the border of Mexico, and I hiked on the trail for all of California and Oregon with a few detours for fires. Got a little bit into Washington, and then a few weeks ago that big storm came in, snowed out a lot of the higher elevations of trail. And so I was at mile 2,234, and then instead of calling the hike, I decided to still go to Canada, but I turned a little bit left and I turned it into an urban thru hike and walked through Randall, Ashford, Eatonville, Puyallup, Seattle, Bothell, Snohomish, Arlington, Mount Vernon, Bellingham, Custer, and now I'm going to walk through Blaine and then go through the border. And it has been an amazing, amazing hike. But one thing I do need to say is that thru hiking and also section hiking is way, way harder than I make it look. What is down there? Oh my God, it's fish! Is this salmon? Oh, look at their creepy eyes. They're fighting. That one just tried to bite the other one's tail. So they came under the bridge. They're working their way. A lot of them are kind of stuck at this spot. And then if you go over here, there's a few, you can hear them splashing, hard to see, but there's some in there. Oh, there he goes. Okay. And then that guy's made it a fair way. Sometimes they fight each other. That was so cool. My app says that those are the coho salmon, which if I remember from that one sign that I saw a little while ago, they're the ones who spend like a year or two wintering, and they have to winter in their birth streams. So these ones have obviously been out to sea, out to the salt water where they lived for, I don't know, a couple of years. And then now they are coming back to their natal stream to spawn because it is the fall. Anyways, thru hikes are hard, and I tend to make them look easy because I love thru hiking and I am obsessed with it. And I fully know that I gloss over and romanticize the harder parts of it. And part of it is just that I'm really good at hiking. I have tons and tons of experience and lots of technical skills. And so hiking really is just easier for me than it is for most people. But I do also have a lot of hard times on trail, and some of them are high grade, kind of intense situations, but a lot of the other things are low grade, kind of daily things that I just forget to show, like anxieties about the route and the weather or whatever, and daily little pains, and being too hot and too cold, being too hungry, being too tired, muscles sore, being thirsty. There's all sorts of things that I just forget to show them because they don't bother me that much. But anyways, it is hard and it is brutal, and there are significant risks on trail. For example, in the early season in the desert, a lot of people had to get rescued due to heat exhaustion. And in the late season, a lot of people had to get rescued because they were in unsafe weather conditions and too much snow. So you do need to be prepared before you embark on something like that, because you don't know what you don't know. And so you have to learn it so you know where the line is and what your limits are. Another example is the urban thru hiking that I am doing right now. I personally have found it very rewarding, going out and seeking the beauty in the cities, and I've been gaining route creating skills that are going to be very valuable for me later, building my hikes. But it has involved a lot of road walking, and that is dangerous, and I have pretty much had to be alert constantly for the last 3 weeks. And my brain, I am so tired and ready to be done with urban thru hiking. This has been too long, and I don't regret it at all. It was exactly what I needed. But I do want to reiterate that just because I do something and put it on the internet does not mean that it is a good idea. It may in fact be a terrible idea for someone else. And in fact, I think for most people, an urban thru hike of this length is probably not worth it. Brief interlude. I'm in this field taking a quick break so I can show how I make super butter. Super butter is something you make when you come into town and you haven't eaten all of your peanut butter because you're a bad thru hiker and you still have a whole half a jar of it left. And it's very easy to make. You take your half jar of peanut butter, a stick of room temperature butter, and you just pop that in there. And then you just kind of mush it around. second stick, or second half of the stick. It's a very messy process. A long spoon would help, but here's the final product. And it's a lot creamier and smoother than peanut butter, and it doesn't stick to your teeth the same way, and you can eat it with anything you would eat peanut butter, like a little sandwich with some Nutella or jam or whatever. It's really good. I'm not sure how it would taste in the front country, but in the back country, it's delicious. Also, this is how I get hands-free video. I have a phone leash, so my phone goes in here. It's attached to a little cord, some bungee, and I have it clipped to my pack. And then I hold this with my phone in my teeth. So my phone is kind of like this, and wherever I turn my head, that's what I can film. Very low tech, but it works. And if I drop my phone, it's still attached. Okay, here is the big summary of my injuries and my hike. So, a year and 3 months ago, I herniated a disc in my back and had sciatica all down my left side, and it was extremely severe, white hot agony, immediately could not work, very debilitating, coming right off of a long-term foot injury that had left me unable to take a lot of steps during the day, so my body was already quite weak. Couldn't sit, couldn't stand, couldn't walk for more than 5 minutes, nerve pain up the wazoo, and pain receptors that were way overfiring. Had to walk around the kitchen to eat my food because I couldn't sit, had to lay down in the back seat while my parents drove me to doctor's appointments. This was my starting point. And I was recommended surgery, microdiscectomy, by 2 spine surgeons, but they said I could do physical therapy first, see if that worked, and it did work for me. So I had 8 months of physical therapy with a fabulous PT. She was so good, and we started very, very, very slow and then worked our way up, and I did core strengthening and glute strengthening, and then I trained up my walking again. And I trained so hard, but also so carefully to try not to re-injure myself. But I still didn't know if I would be strong enough to meet the benchmarks necessary to start the Pacific Crest Trail in late April. Ideally, I would have started early April, but I was nowhere near hiking ready that time. So a few days before my hike, I finally met my benchmarks. And when I started the trail, I could only do 0.85 miles at a time with then a 40-minute to an hour-long break, and then I would hike another 0.85 miles and then take another break, and it took me all day to do 8 miles, and I would take 8 to 10 breaks throughout the day and wake up super early and get into camp super late, and I carried no more than 25 pounds on my back, and I had been training for that as well. I started with 0 pounds, then 3, then 6, then every week I would add, and I just barely made it to being able to carry 25 before I started the trail. And I was able to do all of that with 0 sciatic pain. And if I ever did get sciatic pain, I would dial back my regimen. And so every day was very regimented. I would, over time, slowly increase my metrics. So instead of 0.85 miles at a time, maybe the next days I would do 0.9 or 0.95 miles at a time, and my breaks might be 40 minutes, and then later they might be 35 minutes, and then I might do only 8 miles a day the first couple days, and then I might do 9, and then after a week do 10. Very slow incremental increases where I didn't spike the load. So at the beginning of trail, I didn't know if I would be on trail for 1 day or 6 months. I just didn't know if it would work. And for me personally, this system worked out really well. I don't know about how other people, whether it would work for them. But anyways, over the course of the 6 months of my hike, I ended up being able to do 9 miles at a time, only need 15-minute breaks. And I think I did 32 miles in 1 day one time. And now, at the end of trail, this hike has given me everything. I think I can say that I'm almost fully healed. I have all of my strength back, all of my mobility back, my agility, my balance, my ability to take risks. My pain receptors went back to being normal. They were recalibrated. I was able to rejoin society and community. I regained my confidence, big, my joy, my sense of humor. Essentially, this hike has given me my entire life back. And my body feels amazing right now. I have 0 sciatic pain, 0 back pain, 0 foot pain. Muscles a little sore. Shoulders a little sore. Maybe a touch sunburned. No blisters. I just have no bodily injuries at the moment. And another huge thing about where I started was my very intense fear of sitting, because sitting was the biggest and most severe immediate pain trigger during the sciatica episode. And so for a long time, physically, I really couldn't sit very much. At the beginning of trail, even 15 minutes sitting was really pushing it. So I took the train down to the trailhead so that I could lay down. I was terrified of chairs, terrified of restaurants and small towns entirely, because I worried that they wouldn't allow me to rest and lie down on my back when I needed it. Hi, good boy. Buses and planes especially scared me because you are trapped. And this fear of sitting really stuck with me even as my body was getting stronger. But I didn't force it. It's a mental thing. Those just take time, and slowly over the course of trail, I got more comfortable with getting hitches in cars, sitting longer at the restaurants, starting to take buses. And now, 6 months later, I would say I started with a 10 out of 10 fear of sitting, and I'm now at about a 3 out of 10. I think I can go watch a movie for 3 hours. I feel ready to go on a few-hour plane ride, and I may never be comfortable with a full-time desk job. I'm not sure if I'll be totally nonchalant about sitting again, but I don't feel like my fear of sitting is having a huge impact on my daily life anymore. And that feels so good. Also, I think a lot of my progress on my fear of sitting was due to the urban thru-hiking. With my trail thru-hiking, after doing that for 5 months, I really felt like I was fully back in terms of physical strength and everything, but I was still able to rest on my back literally whenever I wanted, and I didn't feel that I was ready for fully normal society yet. But at least the fact that I was able to consider an entire urban thru-hike where I would be in the city for weeks with possibly no good places to lie down shows how far I had come compared to when I was terrified to even go through a small town because I wouldn't have anywhere to lie down. And the city really did expand my limits with sitting. There was whole days that I had to go without being able to lie down. And so now I can go a whole day with just walking and sitting for my rest. And that's where I got used to longer transportation, being on buses for a long time, sitting for hours in cafes so that I had somewhere warm and dry to be and somewhere to charge my devices. So overall, this was the biggest reason why my hike was not finished at Mount Adams, because my body was healed for the woods, but I still needed to test it in the city. Sidewalk time again. also, everything that I've achieved on this hike so far and in my healing is partly me working hard, but also a big part people helping and supporting me, my friends and family, random strangers along the way, people giving me rides and places to stay, logistics and practicality, and then also just moral support, all of the people that I've met that have just brightened my day because there's so many kind people out there, and all of the trail magic that I have received, and I've received a lot. And then another really lovely part of this trail has been getting to respond to the comments in my videos. That has been so lovely, and I've really enjoyed getting to talk to everyone in there, and people are so kind and so knowledgeable. It's just been such a lovely surprise on this trail. And I've learned so much about flora and fauna and fungi and geology and history, and that's been so fun. And there's so many really kind comments that just straight up warmed my heart. And then I really enjoyed hearing from other people with injuries. Obviously, I don't want other people to have herniated discs, that's horrible, but there is a certain camaraderie in knowing that I'm not alone in dealing with it. Also, of course, I do make my videos just because I like making them, and I make them the way that I like to make them, the way that I want to remember a trail. But I do really like it when other people, even if it's just a few people, like the things that I like to make. And as a quick aside, with no promises, after this trail is done, I might make a few videos about things I didn't have time for on trail, but otherwise I'll probably be fairly quiet on this channel until my next hike, which could be anywhere. I am a thru hiker, so one last snack at McDonald's. I am almost at the border, less than half an hour to go, so the only reflection left is about Washington. So in the desert, I healed, and in the Sierras, I got strong. In Northern California, I got fast. In Oregon, I felt normal. And in Washington, I pushed my own frontiers farther than I ever have before into the realm of a truly big adventure. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to go in there or here. This is the start of the Peace Arch Park. I think those houses are in Canada. Got my passport ready. Not exactly sure where the pedestrian border crossing access is. Okay, I asked the Border Patrol, and you just walk into the park and you walk into Canada without doing anything, and then you do customs at the far end of the park on the Canada side. Okay, so the Peace Arch is a monument to the peace between the USA and Canada. It was built in 1921. It celebrates the Treaty of Ghent in 1814 and the establishment of our borders at the 49th parallel. Oh, and that's I-5 northbound and southbound. They mark the boundaries of this little park. It's hard to see, but this is the USA flag. Having emotions. I am in Canada. And this one, this is the monument that I know and love. There's one of these at the Continental Divide Trail border. We've got United States, the boundary, and Canada. I'm in the USA and Canada at the same time right now. And that arch is at the exact point where you cross into Canada from the USA. I am in Canada and I don't know how I feel, which is totally normal for me. This is how I feel at the end of every single long distance hike because for so long you're walking every day and camping and always moving towards this one goal, and then all of a sudden you're there. How am I here right now? I don't know. So I don't feel anything about it yet. I will later. I am just very happy. So happy. And I'm also excited to be done with trail because my routine after a long distance trail is I go home and I read books by the fire and I eat vegetables and I take bubble baths and I sleep a lot and I rest up and I just have a lot of time to myself, and then I come back into the world. But it is not time for that yet. Now it is time for me to go and be a tourist in Canada, the place that I've been walking to for 6 months, and get to explore a little bit, and then I'll go home. All right, I'm finished with the border crossing and now I'm in Canada and I'm going to find a way to get a bus to Vancouver where I have a hostel for the night. Oh, and I almost forgot, my final mileage count ended up being 2,666.6 miles. That's kind of fun. From Mexico to Canada. And it ended up being almost the exact same amount as the official Pacific Crest Trail, which is, I think right now, 2,655.8 miles. All right, I'm in Vancouver now. That does look really good.